Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on this Easter Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, sports, economics, and so much more. I am Glenora Shipura. Getting into the news tonight, a high-level delegation of the United Nations head of agencies recently concluded a 4-day visit from Kavango West aimed at assessing the impact of Drought Relief Interventions Response Fund, which allocated $56.57 million for projects across the region. UN President Coordinator Hopolang Fororo explained the updates on key challenges facing the region. Philippus Joseph was there and gave in this report.
Trying to do. And one of the things with these funds which we had received from the Central Emergency Relief Fund was really just to see how we could also work in an integrated manner as the UN entities in specific districts or specific villages. Yeah? So in some cases we worked jointly, like one or two or more agencies. In other cases it was just specifically the one UN agency. So we're talking about an envelope of about $3 million, which was complementing the government efforts because the government had already financed a large part, most I think, of their drought response plan. So we came in as the UN in solidarity just to be able to support and fill in some of the gaps for government. So we chose Kavango West simply because this is where the indicators showed that the support would be would fill the greatest needs. So that way then we had the 3 UN agencies. We had UNICEF looking at nutrition specifically for children, women, and really just trying to see how we could be able to address those needs in the
In our next story, a Nigerian biker, Omulewa Adesuyi, a member of Ecobellis Club in Lagos, reached Windhoek after riding her motorbike over 4,000 kilometers from Lagos to Namibia through the Cameroon, Congo, Brazzaville, DRC, and Angola, and is yet to proceed to South Africa. She was welcomed by members of Namibia's Ngoshi Bikers Club, who intend to host her at various local establishments over the weekend, intended to host her over the weekend before she takes off for South Africa. Have a look.
My name is Lewa, aka Mama Spade, and I am from Lagos, Nigeria. I just rode my bike over 4,000 kilometers to get to Windhoek, Namibia. I have gone through Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo Brazzaville, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa, Angola, and finally Namibia. And I'm still heading to South Africa. I got to Windhoek today, and the Ngoshi bikers, they welcomed me. They surprised me, in fact. They surprised me at the border where they came to pick me up. And also today, they surprised me by coming all the way to meet me in a town about 2 hours away from here. I was so surprised to see them, and I'm so happy. The biking community is one of love, camaraderie. Everybody in the biking community, you don't even need to know each other before. Once you're a biker, you're a family. Shout out to my riding club, Ecobells in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm doing this for all the women in Africa. Today I saw a woman and she asked me why I'm doing this, and I said I'm doing this for the girl child to know that you can dare to dream, and the only limitation you have is yourself.
Getting into our next story, Neil van Niekerk of the Kakamas Water Users Association confirmed that the maximum level flow passed through the town. We can see the level decreasing and are closely monitoring the situation to detect any sudden change should such a sudden change occur. Van Niekerk said in response to a high water alert issued for settlements along the Orange River in the area on the 18th of April. He provided the following information regarding the current and expected water levels in the area. Flow at Kakamas on the 18th of April 2025 was 2,852 meters squared per second. The water height at the bridge was 8,690 meters. The Bloemhof Dam experienced an inflow of 700 meters squared per second, and the Van der Kloof Dam had an inflow of 374 meters squared per second on the 17th of the 4th of the 2025, with a total of 1,074 meters squared per second. Moving over to our next story, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah recently visited the Etunda Relocation Center in the Musate region as part of her regional visits to assess the situation and progress at centers established as temporary accommodation for communities affected by recent floods in the northern regions. The center currently hosts 68 households amounting to 484 individuals. Nandi-Ndaitwah will proceed shortly to visit relocation centers at Oshakati in the Oshana region and Oshikango in the Ohangwena region to engage with affected families and monitor ongoing government response efforts. Caroline Slabbert, the president of the Namibian Hockey Federation, shares how she feels about hockey taking on Namibia across the world. Willem Lita gave in this report.
To the 25th, the finals will be on the 25th of April. It's very exciting to host 6 teams in the men and 6 teams in the ladies qualifier, and the top 3 teams will qualify for the Junior World Cup that will be held for the women in Chile and for the men in India. For Namibia, our biggest difficulties is funding. Funding is very important. Like for us, hosting this tournament is costing a lot of money that we don't necessarily have. But also, we've last hosting the same qualifying tournament in 2016. And that was also the last time that our teams really participated in such a under 21 qualifying event. Funding is so important, but because it helps us to not only making like the hosting of such an event, bring it to Namibia, but it's also important that we help with make it affordable for our players to go and attend international events. We also need funding to make development, grassroots development, to reach out to the rest of the country. We do have the School of Excellence with support of Standard.
That was our top stories. We will be taking a look at our story of the day, but first, a quick ad break. Getting into the story of the day, President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah on Saturday reiterated that the old age pension grant will not be increased from $1,600 million to $3,000 million this year, as she is focusing on youth unemployment and how it can be improved. Nandi-Ndaitwah was speaking at the Ohangwena relocation camp, where she was doing regional visits for the flood-affected victims who have been relocated to the highland as part of government mitigation measures. She said the late founding president of the Namibian nation, Sam Nujoma, emphasized that the elderly should ideally have 1 meal a day, while the youth get 3. Tuemo Haitula gave in this report. Have a look.
Kucha, ova kulunu na turie lumwe mefikunde atimango muya. Uno na varielu tatu. Watu sitimbuko simasho. Tacho wa kulunu na turielu mweme fikuti mangenyo muya. Uno na varielu tatu. Na mundane kengolo ka kulunu ange kucha. Openzela nudo hatidini nenyopo. Amenditale kucha. Kombinga ya nyasha. ohaditameke peni itashichavesho ikeva dula ashiko ndina kutameka ondina kutameka ngopo ndode onumba ndonde itavela kucha ova kulunu yango tave udungi ondishishi kucha nakusawe tokwati mule we fimbolo numba epenzela da kulunu na dieko mayove atatu nde ina chamo dulimwa ike oese ikanu vehole kuningini mangashi vahalo kuyu dako ile vala kuhonge ifa oshiwana besi honge ifire pangelo lalo pangelo elilile poke shumwe ohato kweshipopya amonde shuda ndo kwati keofimbolo numba onadika fike koko hashone ngaova kwetu natulongele ni kumwe opo tukaeta kumifoma humo komeshwetu.
All right, that concludes our story of the day. Moving on, Namibia falls short of the logistics hub goal, and the master plan is currently under review. In our economic news segment, we expand on this. Getting into our economic news, Namibia has missed its target of becoming a regional logistics hub by 2025, as outlined in the 4th National Development Plan. A revised master plan is now under review following delays in rail, aviation, and regulatory infrastructure. This comes as the original phased strategy envisioned short-term expansion by 2020 and medium-term evolution into a regional distribution center by 2030. We are now in 2025, and I can assure you we are not there yet. So for that reason, we are revising the master plan because there are quite several developments that are still pending. Some of our railway infrastructure is lacking, and in the aviation space, there's a lot to be done, said Gilbert Boyes, project manager for the logistics hub at the Walvis Bay Corridor Group. The initial phase, known as the Transport Corridor, aimed to remove bottlenecks and grow Namibia's share in the international transport market. According to the plan, this included scaling capacity by 2.5 times by 2020. The second economic corridor phase targeted Namibia's transformation into a regional supply and a distribution depot, ultimately contributing to Vision 2030 and industrialization. He added that while port infrastructure has progressed with private concession now operating under a landlord model, other key components such as rail networks, border facilities, and aviation remain underdeveloped. When you envisage positioning yourself as a logistic hub, you have to have all these different elements. First and foremost, you need to have an efficient port. Of course, you have to think about your intermodal setup, your road, your rail, your border infrastructure, regulatory environment, policy environment, and legislative environment, said Boyes. Namibia's corridor network consists of 4 main routes, 3 via Walvis Bay and 1 via Lüderitz. Let's take a look at our financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 25.16, against the euro at 21.67, against the US dollar at 18.81. 2 Namibian dollars and 58 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the commodities market, gold, copper, and platinum went up, while Brent crude oil went down. Brent crude oil trading at 1.51%, going for $66.99 per barrel. We'll now take a look at our international news on the other side of this. Getting into our international news, Pope Francis, the first Latin American leader of the Roman Catholic Church, has died at the age of 88, the Vatican has said. This morning at 7:35 local time, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the home of the Father. Cardinal Kevin Farrell said in the statement, which was published by the Vatican on its Telegram channel. His death comes after he appeared at the Vatican's St. Peter's Square yesterday to wish Happy Easter to thousands of worshippers. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Argentina, was discharged from the hospital last month after 5 weeks of treatment for an infection that led to double pneumonia. Tributes from around the world have been pouring in. The acting head of the Church of England, the Archbishop of York, described him as a holy man of God who was also very human. Francis' whole life and ministry was centered on Jesus, who comes among us not to be served but to serve. Stephen Cottrell said in a statement. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who met the Pope on Easter Sunday, said his heart goes out to Christians. French President Emmanuel Macron said Pope Francis was always on the side of the most vulnerable, while Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof said the pontiff was in every way a man of the people. The governing of the Church will now be handled by the College of Cardinals, its most senior officials, until the new Pope is chosen. There are currently 252 Catholic cardinals, 138 of whom are eligible to vote for the new Pope. They will be summoned to a meeting at the Vatican, followed by the conclave as the election is known. The Pope had struggled with his health in recent months, having spent 5 weeks in hospital with pneumonia in both lungs. During his time in hospital, he presented 2 very critical episodes where his life was in danger. According to one of his doctors, he has suffered a number of health issues throughout his life, including having part of one of his lungs removed at age 21, making him more prone to infections. We'll now take a look at our weather predictions for tomorrow. The capital city can expect a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 25 degrees Celsius with partly cloudy conditions, while Shakati can enjoy some sunny weather with a minimum of 23 and a maximum of 31 degrees Celsius. Katima Mulilo can expect a minimum of 21 and a maximum of 30 with partly cloudy conditions. Aransvlei can expect a minimum of 18 and a maximum of 26 degrees Celsius with partly cloudy conditions, while Rehoboth can expect a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 26 degrees Celsius, also with partly cloudy conditions. We'll now swing over to the sports desk, courtesy of Sportsrep.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with English Premier League football, and it is Liverpool that had an important win on Sunday against Leicester City. They beat them by 1-0, and they're now within 1 win to win the 2024-2025 English Premier League title. It was a hard-fought win for Liverpool against Leicester City. The winner was only scored late in the game in the 76th minute by Trent Alexander-Arnold, who came back from an injury picked up in March, so a great performance by him. So Liverpool now 13 points clear of Arsenal in second position on the lock, and after 33 games it is Liverpool on 79 points, Arsenal on 66 points, and in third position at the moment is Newcastle United on 59 points, and they stayed at 59. That was after losing 4-1 to Aston Villa. And it is Manchester City, the defending champions. They move into the top 4 again. They had a 2-0 win over Everton, and they've got 58 points in the top 4. So all to play for Liverpool now this coming weekend. On Sunday the 27th of April, they play at home against Tottenham Hotspur. If they win that game, they can win the title there, but also they can win it earlier. Arsenal play a midweek game against Crystal Palace. If Arsenal lose that game, then Liverpool will be champions, but most probably it will come down to the game on the 27th of April. On to tennis news, a big win for Holger Rune, and he won the Barcelona Open on the ATP men's circuit. He beat world number 2 Carlos Alcaraz by 7-6 and 6-2, and it's Rune's first ATP title in 2 years. And Rune returned now to the top 10 in the world rankings, and it's Alcaraz that dropped from number 2 to number 3 in the world rankings, and it's Alexander Zverev that moved to number 2 in the world rankings. That's after beating Ben Shelton. That was in the final of the Munich Open, and it's Jannik Sinner that's still the world number 1 men's player. To close off today's international sports news, it is Formula One racing news. So the next race will be in 2 weeks' time. It's the 4th of May. That will be the Grand Prix in Miami. And it is the leader after 5 rounds is Oscar Piastri. That's after winning the past weekend on Sunday in Jeddah. He won the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That's his 3rd win in 5 races with his McLaren. And now he's got 99 points, followed by Lando Norris, his teammate, also McLaren, on 89 points. And then Max Verstappen, he's on 87 points, and he's the defending champion. So the next race will be then Miami. That is on the 4th of May. That is international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And on that note, we have come to the end of the broadcast. That was Ari Hohard with the sports news. We do hope you have had a lovely Easter weekend. And from me, Glenora Shipura, until tomorrow.